Today I'm sharing the variety of projects I made while smashing my scraps for the Smash Our Stash collaboration. Hey, it's Beth. Welcome. This is the March 2026 Smash Our Stash collaboration, and I'm going to kind of share my projects with you as I explain this because I have a lot to share today. But the Smash Our Stash collaboration is it's a small collaboration I host that promotes using up items in your stash, and these are usually items that are maybe easily hoarded or forgotten. And each month we have a specific theme. This month the theme was scraps, and so I've made a whole bunch of layouts using scraps and as well as some other projects. But there is a playlist in the description box below that you can click on and see the other participants, the scraps they chose to use, and what they made. So what I started out doing for this month was go through my box of photos that needed to be scrapbooked this year. So I'm working on the year 2020, and I pulled out the events that didn't really have a specific theme that I might be able to use another collection for, and then went through my scrap stash and found scraps that worked with each event. Scraps were various sizes. I had some larger ones like these, the mustache and the purple chevron here. Some smaller ones like this purple. I had a lot of strips like you'll see on this one. So I just kind of pulled out what I thought would work with each event and then found a layout that would work with the photos and the pieces that I had. And I did pretty well. The only non-scraps I used were my page bases, obviously, and then sometimes, this is actually a scrap, but there are times where I had to pull in some full, like 8.5 by 11 sheets of cardstock for some matting layers, but then everything else on the layout, like this was a big 6-inch, almost 6-inch wide scrap that I found in my stash. So, scraps are scraps, doesn't necessarily matter the size. And then I just went through, once I kind of found the layout I wanted and got things put together, then I just went through my embellishment stash and tried to find embellishments that worked with the colors and the theme that I had going on. So a variety of different layouts. This one has a mix of some like larger pieces and scraps. This one was... so strips. This one was just a lot of strips. I tried not to do like just all strips on all of them because that can tend to be monotonous, so I made a ton of layouts, and this kind of got me through, like I said, some of those odd events that don't necessarily fit with a collection that I might be using. And then I had some scraps of the scraps left over that I used in some of those, or just some other ones I pulled out and didn't use. And so I did make a few scrap cards using some of the pieces that were left over. And so these are all birthday. And I haven't sent my Cards for Cubs off yet, so I'll probably toss those in there. Then I had pulled out, it was kind of a larger but odd shaped scrap of this superhero action words paper, and I had enough to do 2 like 3-inch post-it pad holders. I still need to embellish the front. I haven't figured out what I want to put on the front yet, but I had enough of the pattern paper to do those. And then the heavy-duty cardstock that I used was also scrap. So a lot of times, like anytime I make 5 by 7 cards, which isn't often, but anytime I do, I save the pieces because they work really well for like smaller projects like this. And then I had some like 2-ish inch wide pieces, and I was able to use some of the smaller bits of that pattern paper and make a little mini 1.5 inch post-it pad. I had this base was actually in my stash, and I think I had used my silhouette to maybe cut out the bases a long time ago, but I didn't actually cut out the paper to go with it. And so I went ahead and used that up. I did have to do kind of some hand cutting to make this little scalloped part on the front here worked with the pattern paper. But I just I had enough of this little paw print. It was just like a little square, and it was just enough to do another mini Post-it holder. And then this one, I just added a little Frenchie on the front. Then I wanted to use up some of my strips that I had. So I have done this many times before. And so I kind of have them in various stages here so you can see what I did. But all of those pad backers or pad covers that I saved, I tend to use them for this. So I've taken all of my strips and I used some wet glue and then burnished everything down really well on the front, what would be the outside of the cover. And then the inside of the cover, which is kind of clean and white, will be the back side of the bookmarks. But I don't even know if I said that's what I'm making, but I'm making bookmarks. And then I just use a guillotine trimmer and I go through and I cut, you know, they're not all the same size. It just kind of depends on the sizes of the strips, but I have a whole bunch of ones that I made with various strips, and I kind of went through my stash of chipboard that I had, like scrap chipboard, not really scrap, but repurposed chipboard, I guess. So got a whole bunch of those cut, and I just need to round the corners like this one I did, just so you can see. I round the corners and then I will punch a hole for a little yarn tassel. And then I tend to do this on the month where I use scraps, and then I'm going to save these, and then there's a month where we usually do fibers, and so I'll go through my yarn and add the tassels during that step. So I had a bunch of those, and then there were some that I thought I could laminate. So I had two pieces the same size of these two pieces, and so I need to trim this down, but then I'm going to laminate those, and then they will be bookmarks and they can go with that stash. And then I had some scrap vinyl as well, and so what I did is I took some heavyweight cardstock, like just the 100-pound that I normally use for my cards, and I put vinyl like on either side. And so now it's just kind of a double-sided bookmark. That one's got a little bit of glitter, if you can see it. So I just went through my vinyl scraps and kind of pulled out ones that were smaller. Like this was actually a larger chunk. And so I kind of did those all together because it was like almost like a 6 by 12 inch scrap piece that was left. So then I have those bookmarks, so various bookmarks. And the bookmarks, these I sell at our craft shows. These I tend to donate, like the ones where I add the yarn tassels, these I donate. There are a couple of charities that accept bookmarks. My local library, I've donated some there as well. So I can put those to good use. But I had a productive scrap month. I busted through a lot of scraps, but again, you wouldn't really know it. They're never ending. But I do feel good about like what I got done, especially the scrapbook pages. That's a lot of those events done. So that is what I got done. Again, be sure to check out that playlist linked in the description box below to see what the rest of my crafty friends made with their scraps this month. And it could be any type of scraps. It could be paper, vinyl, yarn, fabric, wood. It could be wood scraps. Any type of scrap. It's pretty kind of broad. And again, if you would like to play with us throughout, like starting this month and the rest of the year, there is a blog post linked in the description box as well that has the schedule of the prompts for each month, and you are welcome to play along and smash your stash along with us. So anyway, thank you all so very much for your time today, and I hope you all have a very crafty day.